Hello again everyone, this is Winter and I am back with another video. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how I made the lead sound in my song Light, which sounds like this. If you want to hear a full version of the song, I'll go ahead and drop a link to that in the description below. So this sound uses a combination of resampling and synthesis to get the sound that you're hearing. I also went through this patch and simplified it out quite a bit so you can create it with Reason stock plugins. The only real rack extension that I use that actually affects the sound quality is the kilohertz fatuator, which just acts as kind of a fuzz distortion, but you can use the Scream 4 distortion unit set to fuzz mode to get a very similar type of effect. So this patch is broken down into two parts. First, we'll be creating the source material for the sound with a Thor unit, and then we're going to resample out a single note and place it in an NN19 sampler, and then use some interesting looping techniques to get a very interesting sustained textured sound. I'll also drop a link to a patch download for free in the description as well, so if you wish to follow along step by step, you can do so as well. Alright, so before we begin, I'm going to go ahead and show you the soloed version of the lead, which sounds like this. And if I was to solo out the source material that we'll be making first, it sounds like this. So by itself, that patch isn't very exciting, but once we resample that out, it'll sound quite a bit more interesting. So let me go ahead and open up the source material and show you how I created that sound. Okay, so the first thing that we have is a line mixture 6 to 2, followed by a Thor unit set to mono legato mode. If you open it up, it is an analog oscillator in octave 4 set to a sine wave, with the low pass filter that's all the way up. And I went ahead and turned the resonance up to 65, which kind of adds a little bit of high frequencies, and because of the self-oscillation right here, it cuts out some of the low frequencies as well. The sound that you're hearing is a sort of pluck sound that's created by two different things. First, the amp envelope are 256 milliseconds, and a release of 651, which adds an amp envelope pluck. And then I have the pitch set to a mod envelope with an amount of 84 on oscillator 1's pitch, and the decay is set at 5 milliseconds, which gives you this kind of pluck. And to hear what's kind of going on here, if I was to bring this decay up a little bit, it gives it sort of a lasery sound. So this effect sounds a lot like compression, but it's actually a short pitch envelope added to the very front of a sound. This is also used in a lot of bass sounds, especially in lots of heavier styles of bass music, to give them a lot of punch. So if you hear very punchy basses, it might actually be a pitch envelope instead of heavy compression. Okay, so the next thing that we have is this Reason vocoder, which is go ahead and set that on, put it on 8-band, or 12-band mode, set to equalizer mode, and then just leave it as is. Kind of gives it a little crispier sound. And also some phasiness. And then next I have the a reverb unit, which sounds like this, which kind of just sets it back into space a little bit. So this patch is from the Propellerhead software refill that came out, the RV7000 Mark II patches. Go to Convolution of Reverbs, go down to Ambient, and pull in Propellerhead Kitchen, this one right here. So the only real things I changed on this was the decay. I set that to 83, brought the high frequency damp all the way down, and then put the high frequency EQ at negative 24. And I just put it at an amount of 30. And again, it just sounds like this. And once we resample it out, you'll get this sort of pitched reverb effect, and it sounds quite nice. So the final thing that's going on here is an echo unit. Go ahead and put that in there, and then put the time at 87 milliseconds, the offset at 1 millisecond, the feedback at 70, the limiter all the way down, the filter turned off, and then the dry wet is at 50. And this delay kind of helps add a little bit of sustained notes, but it's also this weird, like, kind of punchy texture if you listen to it. So once that's resampled, we're going to loop the tail of that sound, and it'll actually create a really nice sustained effect. So next, all you do is go into the notes. I put in a 30-second note at a C4 as an octave, so it's just a real short note. Make sure to solo that out. And then go up here and hit File, Bounce Mixer Channel, make sure Master Selection is soloed and selected, and then hit Loop, New Tracks and Songs, and press OK. Let it think for a second. And then we have our sample down here. So next what we're going to do is we're going to put this in our sample browser. So right click on it, hit bounce clip to new samples. And there it is, sample number 11. So you can go ahead and delete that because we don't need it anymore. And then let's go into our lead sound. So here in the lead, what I did was I created a combinator, a line mixer 62 mixer, and then I created an NN19 sampler unit. So all you have to do for this is right click or just click on the sample and just drop it in just like that. I've already done it, so I won't do it again. But then what you need to do is right click on this master section or whatever your sample says, hit edit sample, and then we're going to be adding a small loop right here. Click on this loop mode right here, and then go ahead and zoom in and put your right marker just behind point 11, right about here, and then put your start marker just after this initial transient, and then hit crossfade loop so it crossfades evenly between the loop as it plays back. You can also adjust the start and end points to add a different sort of effect to the sampler as well. So go ahead and play with this after you get your patch set up to get some different and interesting types of effects. So it sounds like this. Okay, so next hit save. And then all we're going to do inside of this patch is put the amp envelope decay and sustain all the way up, and the release at an amount of 50. Just go ahead and make sure your filter's all the way up as well. So the first effects unit we have right here is a kilohertz fatuator. The drive is at 31, the fuzz is at 39, color is all the way down at 0, mix is at 100, so it's a fully distorted sound. And that sounds like this. The next effects unit is another vocoder. This is set to 8-band mode on equalizer mode with the shift all the way up at 62. And then I went ahead and EQ'd the vocoder a little bit with these frequency bands. It doesn't give me the actual values here, so just kind of have to eyeball it. But all that's really happening is this is the default kind of 0 setting. That's dipping down a little bit for the low mids. And then for these last 2 bars, I went ahead and scooped off some of the high frequencies because it sounds quite shrill. And with too much high frequency buildup, it makes the sound end up sounding quite thin, which we don't want. So it sounds like this with the vocoder equalizer. So the next thing that's going on is an echo unit. Go ahead and insert one of those, and then load up the warm echo preset, which should be its default preset, and then put the time at 1/8, the right channel offset at 1/16, the feedback at 0, the drive at 50% on limiter mode, turn the filter off. Yep, yes, I know. And then go ahead and put the dry wet at an amount of 20, and then put the ducking at 50. So what this does is creates a delay unit that kind of swells after the sound ends. So it sounds like this. And without this ducking, it would just start the delay initially after hitting the key. Okay, so the next thing that's happening here is a RV7000 again, and this is just the all medium stage, which is just kind of a medium hall preset. So I have the decay at 72, the high frequency damp at 38, the high EQ at 16, and the dry wet an amount of 20. And you can change this however you'd like. I just like the way that this specific reverb sounded for the track that I was working on. So next I have a compressor that's compressing both this reverb and delay to kind of break up the volume and make it all sound a little bit fatter. And you can really use any compressor that you'd like. I just enjoy the sound of this one. So we have the attack set all the way down to 0.1 milliseconds. Then we have the release set to 0.1 seconds, threshold at -20, ratio at 10/1, and then the makeup gain is at 7. So it sounds like this. So it really makes that reverb and delay sound a lot fatter and more glued together. The final thing that we have effects-wise going on with this sound is a screen forward distortion unit. So go ahead and insert one of those, set the damage to 52, set it to tape mode, set the P1, which is the speed, all the way up so we get all the high frequencies. Then this compression right here, set it to 22, and then go ahead and crank the master output to 127 so we get a lot more volume out of the synth so we can work with it. So before I show you this, make sure to turn down your headphones because it's going to be quite a bit louder, so I don't want to blow out your eardrums here. So it sounds like this. So this distortion kind of distorts both this reverb and delay, which adds a really nice texture. The final thing that I did with this was just a little bit of equalization. I cut out the low frequencies, so everything below 240, and then cut out all the high frequencies, everything above 13.7. All right, so that's all for today. Make sure to like and subscribe if you liked the video, and also check out my music channel below if you'd like to stay up to date with the music side of things. I have some projects in the work that I really can't wait to share with you guys that are coming out soon, so make sure to stay updated with that. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. And until next time, I hope you guys have a great day.